Stephen would need to join us on this one.
Oh my God.
6 Degree Murder would involve Kevin Bacon. Thank you so much
That's
for that.
excellent, Brass.
I'm gonna.
Very good.
I need like a little bell or something I can ding to tell him. That's awesome.
We'll have to get one of those little bells.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're into the.
It gets in the way.
Brass, I'm actually going to get to that because
Gacy is actually named.
Yeah, Gacy is named in the book.
He's a little further down the list. He'll be
but I actually put somebody above him, so we'll get to that here in a minute.
We've got our own worst one, but Gacy is definitely one of the.
Yeah, he's going to be in the final category for sure. Yeah. I mean, now we're into what is it?
Do you have a list of what these I can't say this word.
Psychopathic?
Or? Yeah, what they would be like narcissism and what else falls into that?
I have it all underlined here. The glib speech, superficial charm, grandiosity, conning or manipulative, pathological liars, lack of remorse or guilt, callousness, lack of empathy towards other people, a failure to accept responsibility for their own actions. Sometimes these traits include the impulsivity, sexual promiscuity, poor behavioral controls, and a parasitic lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
we're getting pretty close to where I think, especially the last few categories.
I say we're actually coming up end of 8 o'clock. So 9 o'clock we can actually discuss them.
Yeah,
our later ones.
But I mean, once we get to level 7, category 17, that's when I think all of them have the level of sexual.
Most of them will, yeah.
Well, it may not be any kind of penetration or nothing, but they're sexual in nature. They get some sort of pleasure.
Brass, that's what I said. Most
U.S. politician.
The U.S. again has about 1 to 2% of the population is a diagnosed antisocial personality type, and they tend to overwhelmingly be like CEOs, people in high position of power, or politicians.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and those type of people do gravitate towards those types of jobs because it helps with their sense of grandiosity. They feel more powerful.
I think another level too, like you said, what would you say? The politicians and what else was it?
Like CEOs and stuff like that.
I think Major League Baseball umpires are also fall into that too.
I don't know enough about them.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of good names popping up here.
Yeah, basically the Patrick Batemans, 100%.
Yeah. They're just going to tell on me.
Yeah.
So he had
and a lot of these people in this category, they have that period of escalation throughout their life. I mean, look at Jeffrey Dahmer, look at Ted Bundy. That's where McDonald triad comes in, like the cruelty to animals. It usually starts that way, and then they work their way up. Some of the
McDonald triad, Ronald, Grimace, and Hamburglar. That's good. Was the Psycho guy one?
Oh yeah, Joseph Fritzl. Yeah, that one.
I think it would be hard to find.
We'll have to do one on him because he kept his daughter locked in a basement for a long time. Like it was ridiculous.
I think it'd be hard to find an individual to fall into category 19.
Yeah, I can't think of a specific individual
because of. Oh yeah, absolutely. Manson there's a lot of weird women out there that got married and fall in love with these people.
Ted Bundy got married in prison, and he got his wife pregnant in prison because they figured out where the security cameras couldn't see them, so they went by a vending machine.
Let's see. Also, one of the things here he mentioned, do you think that it's bad that movies seem to always go to nurture aspect of serial killer, whereas not going the nature aspect of it?
We actually do have in the works.
That may be Zelda. Show,
we're going to have Zelda back on for that one since she is about to graduate with a psychology degree. So we are going to actually do a deep conversation in the nature versus nurture argument. So,
but yeah, I do think it's kind of. I think the movies in general romanticize serial killers, even when they're not trying to. It always seems like they do.
My favorite movie on the nature nurture thing is called We Have to Talk About Kevin, or We Need to Talk About Kevin.
No, that's Something's Wrong with Aunt, whatever. But yeah, we got to talk about Kevin.
Diane, yeah. But yeah, this one has got what's his face from Step Brothers? He's the dad. The goofy one, not Will Ferrell. Names are completely blanking tonight.
He's Shake and Bake.
He plays the dad in that one, and that woman that looks like an alien. She's like really tall and thin, like she just looks odd.
I never watched the movie, so I don't know.
Oh, you need to. But that boy, the way it portrays him in this movie is he's just born this way. there was nothing inherently like wrong with their upbringing. They were very, very wealthy family, very well off. So kids were very taken care of. He was just a bad kid.
Wasn't it Bundy who was also well off in normal childhood?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say normal because the woman that he always thought was his sister was actually his mother, and there were rumors that her father actually had impregnated her. So who his grandfather was is actually his father too.
Right.
What's that? They rarely have a serial killer who had a great life. Yeah, I mean they definitely do. They want you to kind of feel for the characters in these movies, even if they're bad guys. So they give you this sob story and everything, like, oh, I was abused, all these horrific things happened to me in childhood, so that's why I am the way I am today.
I also wonder how much of that is actually verified too, or if it's just them.
Well, remember, I mean, that lecture that we went, that doctor was talking about how most serial killers, they come from kind of similar backgrounds,
Right.
Abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive.
And like he meant, Mr. Brass mentioned Albert Fish, and we was going to talk about him too
last night just because of the letters.
Oh yeah, we was going to bring him up too, as far as this level or maybe the next level. And the only reason
I don't think he tortured the girl really. I mean,
but no, just what he did afterwards.
He tortured the family obviously with the letters. So
yeah, that's still to me. I mean that's
extreme psychological torture right there for a parent.
And he had to torture those kids, and
that really was not the.
Even if it wasn't prolonged. Just
I was about to say, I mean, he would definitely fall into this final category, obviously.
But as far as just being worse, as far as an evil person, you may be onto something, because that takes a different level there.
Yeah.
To talk about how the kids tasted and all this kind of stuff. That's pretty messed up.
And then tell the parents she died a virgin.
Yeah.
Like I didn't do anything to her.
Yeah. That's kind of helpful in a way, though, honestly.
If you can trust anything somebody like that says, I mean.
I don't care. I'm going to choose to. If that's what they told me, that's fine. I'm going to choose to believe that.
That's a great question, because we were actually going to mention Eileen Wuornos, Brass. Well, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I think she would fall into this. She didn't have remorse, so.
Oh no, she was proud of her killings.
Yeah, but this was somebody that was. I mean, it stemmed from a brutal rape that one of her Johns inflicted on her. I mean, he raped her anally with like a baseball bat.
Yeah, I mean
it was horrific what happened to her, and
it broke her. I mean, that's part of her.
She was already like kind of teetering on the edge of being broken. I mean, she was just one of those tragic women. Like you see those cases all the time. Like, she was abused and everything as a child, ran away from home, turned to prostitution, all that kind of stuff. It's a horrible story in general. Yeah. Like, she just was not okay by the time this happened anyway.
And what's unique about her is that's typically the victim pool that serial killers search from. I mean, that's pretty common as the prostitutes. But here's a prostitute that turned the tables basically and began hunting the Johns. She flipped
the script. She reversed it.
Yeah. So I don't think she was evil. She done evil things.
Yeah.
And she was broken, but she didn't just.
It wasn't because like she necessarily wanted to. She was. The motive for her murders and everything was robbery. She was trying to survive still.
Yes. But it would be.
And no, I don't feel sorry for her at all, but that is just the fact of that case.
Oh, yeah. And her victims, this may sound bad, I don't know, but they weren't necessarily innocent. They were out looking.
No, one was.
The
body they never found.
I'm going to get there. But in general, they were out looking for a prostitute. So, I mean, they wouldn't out just like go on their way to Bible study and say, ooh, look, here's somebody hitchhiking. Let's give them a ride. In her mind, that was justifiable enough right there.
Yeah.
They were. And then once the act started, she even talked about how she was like PTSD in a way.
Flashback.
And that would spur the murders.
Yeah. But there was that one man who was a Christian man and everything. And he actually just genuinely picked her up because he thought she needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she pulls the gun on him and everything and is robbing him. And he's telling her, like, I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm, you know, I didn't pick you up for sex. None of that. I think he was a church man. I can't remember exactly, but his son, I think, actually during the trial reached out to her and said, can you at least just tell us where Dad's body is? And she never would tell him.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, she had no remorse about what she did, because I think in her twisted mind, she justified every one of them.
Yeah, she did not accept responsibility for her actions, really. Like, I mean, she admitted that she did it all, but she took no responsibility for it. That's two different
and then
things.
like even her final words, I mean, her mind was broken. She was definitely out of it.
I say I have pity for people like her, but I don't. That's different, I think, than feeling sorry for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The same thing with Dahmer. You know, I don't feel sorry for him, but I pity what he was going through. But yeah, now as far as just women who kill, not talking about
I could do several episodes on those.
they typically do use the poison and stuff like that. Much more sneaky type.
Diane Downs did, and she shot all 3 of her children. Only one of them died, though.
And
but
like some of them do the drowning things too.
Andrea Yates.
Who was the one that run the car off in the water?
Oh, I can see her face in my mind.
But see, the women, they either do like loved ones or their children, spouses. Like you don't find them that go hunting.
I'm about to say Eileen Wuornos was kind of I guess you could call her a pioneer in that way, because like she had no connection to these people.
Right, like but like I said, that mainly women, they do loved ones.
Or sometimes, there's that one nurse who was a male, but you get the Angels of Mercy.
Yeah. Now, would women in that situation, would they fall into category 7 back up here? Where
Probably.
It says where the murdered loved ones and things like that.
Because Diane Downs absolutely would be a category 7. I mean, she was extremely narcissistic.
Eileen Wuornos would not be category 7. She'd be further down.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about her. I don't think she was ever diagnosed with a lot of she had some of the traits. She may not be
diagnosed, but I could diagnose her myself. I mean,
she didn't have all of the criteria. She didn't meet all of the criteria for psychopathy at all.
Not all of, right.
So she had, a few, some to a few, but she was manipulative enough just to like get in the car with him, but that was just she was doing anyway. I mean, they wasn't innocent. They was out looking. Yeah.
The vast majority, except for maybe that one.
Yeah.
Perhaps that one. We're just going off what she said. We don't know that he may have been out there.
She was very, very open about her crimes. And she would freely talk about what these men said when she was in the car, what they did. And she talked about that man begging her for his life.
Yeah. So, I mean,
he said, I'll give you all the money that I've got in my wallet. I'll give you my credit card. Just let me go on.
Right.
Because, that was her motive. She just needed the money to survive to the next day.
Right. But as far as her not being diagnosed with anything, that's fine. Maybe she wasn't. But her final words right here, her last words, she was put to death on Independence Day, July 4th, 1996. Her last words was, quote, "I'd just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock and I'll be back, just like Independence Day, with Jesus, June 6th, like the movie. Big mothership and all, I'll be back."
I mean, her final statement was just bonkers.
She was out of her mind. I mean, she was broken to the point that, sure, they may not make no diagnosis, but the woman was broken and completely out of her gourd.
There was a lot wrong with her mentally. But I just don't think psychopathy was one of those things.
Well, what would you call it then? Just nuts?
There's
got to be something.
That could be, she wasn't a torture murder, but in people with distinct psychosis.
Yeah. It is a psychosis. We don't know what it would actually be.
Yeah.
Be under, but I would think like maybe paranoid schizophrenic type.
Could have been. Schizophrenics don't always necessarily hear voices specifically.
Mm-hmm.
That comes in with hallucinations and stuff. And I think it could also, if she already had stuff like that when she was younger, because she bounced around so much, nobody was ever able to take care of her.
Did she hit the streets when she was like 14 or 15 years old?
Something like
Very
that.
young,
She was like the Tiny Tyrant's age, I think.
But then, like I said, I think that lifestyle, her past, her childhood, and then the rapes that happened, I think that finally just broke her. And she would have, I'm sure they was John's that she didn't kill.
Probably.
That probably went fine. But there was something with some of these that triggered that PTSD she had, and she would kill them. And so I don't think she was an evil person. She done evil things. Now, he tortured animals, but I don't think he tortured people.
Well, we have to be a little bit inclusive, Brass. But again, this was actually Dr. Stone's choice for number 22. He said Gacy is the perfect example of a category 22.
Yeah, now Gacy, now that was the Pride Month.
Well, he was a homosexual man. No.
That was the bad Gacy. Remember, there was two sides to Gacy.
Yeah, he always
he
had to separate that because he couldn't. His dad so abused him and called him a sissy all the time.
Oh yeah,
because he would rather bake like with his mom or sew with his mom or do stuff like that with his sisters.
And Gacy says himself that the parts of him that was the Democrat representative, the one that was the clown, Patches and Pogo, the ones where he was out hitting the streets, raising money for all these charities and things like that. The straight side of Gacy, that to him was the good Gacy. That was his good part.
He was married, and I think he had 2 children over the course of his life.
Could be. I don't recall.
2.
And then,
but that first wife said, after that, we never had sex anymore. Yeah. Like he would rather go out. She's like, I knew he was a homosexual.
Yeah, and he would do that was his bad side. He was trying to make a case in my mind.
He couldn't reconcile it because of his dad. He was named after John Wayne, the most macho of the macho men. Like, you're not supposed to behave like this. You're supposed to want to do manly things and not want to bake with your mom or sew with your sisters or something.
Yeah, his father had an idea of what his son had to be.
Yeah.
And when John come out, and he named him John Wayne after the actor. And when he come out as not John Wayne, the abuse started.
Yeah, Dad basically thought he could beat the gay out of him, essentially.
So he saw that gay side of him as the bad.
And his dad taught him that.
Yeah, so when he would, in his interviews later, he would say there was 2 sides. There was the good side, which was everything I mentioned.
Everything he thought he was supposed to be doing.
And then the bad side was the gay side of him, and that's where that come in at.
But what's funny is, the good side, that was all an act. Because that's not who he was. Even he knew that that's not who he was. Who he was when he went prowling for these young men.
Yeah, that was his true nature, for sure.
But again, he put on, that good side was a front that he put up for everybody so that they wouldn't know that he was gay. Because he was supposed to hide that part of him because it was the bad side.
Yeah,
so you kind of feel sorry for him a little bit that way.
Again, not necessarily sorry, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Pity, yeah.
Wrong thing, maybe. You go ahead. Let me do the research on Marion.
Yeah, no, we're not doing the whole cis thing or anything. We're just explaining why Gacy felt about himself the way that he did.
That's what.
That's kind of basically what his dad taught him. Oh, John Wayne's real name.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see what you're doing now. I got you. Yeah, that makes sense now. Like I said, the name with the Gacy at the end threw me. It's what you're saying is homophobic, evil, cis white males. It's the reason Gacy did what he did. In his mind, perhaps. Because that's what his dad would have been.
He didn't use it in the terms like this, we're seeing used all but the idea is generally the same. It was beaten into him.
But his father, John Wayne Gacy's father, would be considered a homophobic cis white male.
Yeah, 100%.
He's bite.
Yeah.
I'm not white. I'm melanin challenged. Evil as the word. Mr. Brass down here says, what would count more as evil is who the victims are and the intentions. And Rhett's up here is kind of doing the same thing, kind of echoing that. And that's kind of how I feel too. It's who the victims are.
Because see, to me, an adult has the capacity to get away that a child is way less likely to have.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, the one who drowned them in the bathtub.
Andrea Yates.
That one boy.
Oh, the oldest boy. He was actually. She had just drowned the youngest one. I think it was like 6 or 9 months old.
Yeah, he was trying to get away.
And he was actually crying and apologizing to her, saying, you know, Mama, I'll be good. I'll be good.
And the mother's nature
is to protect. I mean,
so she went against everything a mother's supposed to do.
Actually, no, Andrea Yates didn't. She thought she was protecting her children. She was deeply religious.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is like, that's where I was building up to.
Okay.
That she went against everything that a mother's nature is supposed to do. And she basically chased down her oldest child and drowned him and drug him back in the room and drowned him. And now, like you mentioned,
he was the only one that she left in the bathtub too. The rest of them were put in the bed. And
now she done this because her mind was twisted.
Her doctor, she had severe postpartum depression for all of her pregnancies, and she had like 6 children. And the doctor told her husband, like repeatedly, you do not need to leave her alone with the children.
Right.
So what does he decide to do? Leave her at home to homeschool all of them.
Right.
But she had actually done this. The mother-in-law was supposed to, she was always coming by during the day to like be with Andrea and kind of keep an eye on things. She actually had like car trouble, I think. And Andrea Yates, in the hour before she got there, that's when she killed all her children. But she thought that she was protecting them from hell.
Right.
Essentially.
She thought she was saving them.
Yeah. She thought that she was sending them to heaven and protecting them that way.
So it's obviously extremely evil acts that she done. And I would put that as some of the most disturbing, especially the fact that she had to go chase him and pull him back into that room.
Yeah. I mean, that's a level of determination that.
Yeah. But again, her mind was not right. She was gone.
Yeah, I don't think she ever got like the death penalty. I don't even know if she got life in prison for that because of her mental illnesses.
Right. Well, you mentioned Yates and her husband leaving her at home with the kids against doctor's orders.
Yeah.
Brass here mentioned that Yates' husband thought her depression was only self-destructive, not directing at others. And that, that could be the way you're thinking, because naturally I would never think it would be outside my normal thought that even with post-traumatic or postpartum that a mother could ever harm their children.
I say even in like the times that I've been severely depressed, like I've never been a danger to our daughter. Like I've never been a danger to myself either, so I can't really imagine that. But I mean, still, like to be in that kind of headspace, that's something I can't connect with.
Yeah.
Like, because again, like you said, it's so outside of me as a mother. Like, my only instinct, usually 9 times out of 10, is to protect that child in there.
That would be, I guess, it's psychosis too. Something.
Yeah, it would have to be just complete break from reality. Like,